everyone! Welcome back to another 2v2 battle. I am playing as the Dwarves, being led by the High King himself. I wanted to give him a shot. He is super expensive. Let's actually just pause it real quick and let's go over why I think he's expensive. So, the High King does have a magical attack which is going to overcome any physical resistance of, let's say, the Savage Orc units that have the war paint, and then also the race from the vampires. So that's kind of cool that a Lord has a magical attack like that, and it's a pretty high, like he is a solid melee combatant, but he also has this blessing, the High King. So in a 250 meter area around him, he buffs all units with 8 melee attack, charge bonus, and immune to terror and fear. So, like against a vampire count player, I think Thorgrim may be an okay choice because he can counter some of the wraiths that if a vampire player even plays that, although these days it's mostly crypt horrors, so but still, the immune to the fear effect is actually kind of big. But we are facing off against a Bretonnian and a Dwarf player. I still wanted to give him a shot. I don't think this is his ideal matchup, but he's here, but he is super expensive. I have 2 Quarrelers. I have a Runesmith because Runesmiths, I think, are really good. I brought 2 cannons and then 2 anti-large gyrocopters with the brimstone guns. I don't normally put too much money into artillery pieces like these, but since we're facing off against Bretonnia, I thought that maybe I should expect a cav spam. The only cav that this Bretonnia player actually has are a couple Knights of the Realm over here, some Mounted Yeomen, let's see, 2 Knights of the Realm, and then 1 Grail Knight, Mounted Yeomen Archers, I think he has 2 of them, and then 2 Mounted Yeomen. I don't think you should really ever bring Mounted Yeomen. I'm just gonna say no. Just say no. I don't like them at all. But anyway, I was expecting cav spam, so I brought a lot of anti-large things to deal with them, because cannons have armor piercing and anti-large, so they're ideal against Grail Knight or Knights of the Realm spam, which, you know, Bretonnia is possibly likely to do, but didn't do in this one instance. My teammate over here is a vampire count player with the Terrorgeist, Manfred on his dragon, a vampire on a Hellsteed. I wonder what they're going to do. We have 3 zombies, 2 crypt horrors. We have 5 Graveguard, which I don't normally see so many Graveguard be fielded, but that's, you know, that's cool. We also have a Vargeist over here as well. So at the beginning of the match, I did see one of the knights over here. They were not properly hidden in the forest, so I knew. I was like, okay, there's going to be somebody over there. So I am going to be sending some gyrocopters that way eventually to see what else they have, because I only saw one of them. And these great cannons with no cav really in range, I'm going to start targeting these Longbeards, because out of the infantry presented here, which is mostly spearmen, a couple men-at-arms, the Longbeards are the ones that I'm actually kind of worried about. There are a lot of them. My opponent also brought 2 organ guns and 1 cannon as well. We have a couple Quarrelers back here. We have King Luan Leon Kerr and a Paladin backed up by a Pegasus Knight group, so that's kind of cool. And yeah, I'm just going to be raining death. There go my gyrocopters to scout out the forest and see what else is there. This player does a really good move here. They use their Runesmith to buff the surrounding people with the armor. I maybe would also use the damage resistance buff as well, but that's still a good move. Whew. Whew. So yeah, they are in a very, very defensive setup here. But the thing is, like, our cannons outrange their organ guns, and my units should be in range of their cannons, but I think since they put their miners so close to their cannons are not going to fire because they don't have line of sight, because they would be firing right into the back of their own units at this close range. So I think that's a mistake my player made, or my enemy made. So over here, we're going to see that the Air Force is mobilized. I think they're going over here to try and kill my gyrocopters. And then in response, my ally sends their Air Force over here as well. I'm just over here to scout out to see what kind of cav we're going to be dealing with, mostly. And if it's going to be just knights, I was going to start firing at them. I do notice the Air Force coming in, so I don't really want to stay here, but I still want to try and scout as much as possible. And that's when I see one of these Mounted Yeoman Archers. And I was like, okay, that's good enough for me. I don't want to get shot up. We got the king close. The vampire player here decides to take this fight. And this vampire is going to get in close. I wonder why. Oh, what's that? They're casting a spell on the Pegasus Knights. I wonder what spell that's going to be. Oh, Fate of Yuna. I didn't see that coming. Oh, wait, what's a spell's going on the king? What's that going to be? Spirit Leech? Weird. Super weird. So now there's going to be an air fight here, but the Pegasus Knights have been hit by that Fate of Yuna. You can see their health already just being tanked. We have Manfred, Vargeist, Terrorgeist, King Lewin, a Paladin, Pegasus Knights falling out of the air because of the Fate of Bunispell. The King already suffering a lot of damage, but even through that, the King is going to be dealing some damage of his own to Manfred von Carstein here. Another Spirit Leech goes down on this Paladin. And if we quickly pause, as I'm backing them up with my... wow, I've never actually seen the Brimstone Cannon in mid-flight. It's just chunks of molten rock, it looks like. But yeah, I posted up back here to shoot at the Pegasus Knights and the other Knights because they are technically large creatures because they're mounted. So I thought, hey, why not? We're here. But yeah, let's take a look at the stats between a Vampire and the Paladin. So the Vampire has 80 armor. The speed is going to be the same. 60 melee attack, 35 melee defense, 330 weapon strength. The Paladin is slightly less offensive, has slightly more in the melee defense, and a much higher charge bonus than the Vampire, so that's going in their favor. But, unfortunately for the Paladin, and they even do have a higher weapon strength as well, the Vampire has Spirit Leech. So, as long as your opponent has access to Winds of Magic still, you're probably going to lose a fight in a one-on-one between a Vampire and a Paladin. Also, I am supporting this fight again with Brimstone Guns. But you can see the Paladin just getting sapped because of the Spirit Leech, brought down pretty low. Low enough for my Gyrocopters and the Vampire to finish them off. Over here, though, man, King Lewin is like, no. And is just taking it to Manfred, which I love to see. I love the King. The King is amazing. Even surrounded by all these units, hit by Spirit Leech. Manfred almost drops, but then casts the, Invocation of Nahek. Meanwhile, over here, the Dwarf player is advancing on my position because they don't like to be shot, which is understandable. But the King does eventually get dropped due to Spirit Leech and just an overwhelming numbers. But he did almost kill Manfred, which I was honestly cheering for the King because I really like Bretonnia. But yeah, my cannons just keep continually firing at the enemy Longbeards. You can see they've taken a lot of damage. In return, their Great Cannon has done some damage to a Dwarf Warrior and a little bit to this Miner, which I'm totally okay with. The Air Force battle is now over. My Gyrocopter is going over there to start shooting at the Knights that are now not protected by anything. And so this widespread formation worked kind of well against the artillery. I was expecting artillery, which is why I put my formation like this to begin with, to keep it spread out so that artillery has less of a chance of killing people. It looks like the Runesmith, this may have been a little preemptive. Their Runesmith actually already dropped the, is it already gone? Oh, maybe it's already gone. Okay. Maybe they dropped that armor buff just to decrease the amount of damage my Great Cannons are doing, but I would have saved it for the incoming infantry fight that's about to happen. You see some mining charges about to go off. Ooh. My opponent also has some miners with mining charges as well. Blasting charges, I should say. The Vampire player is getting into position to flank the enemy force. Thorgrim's getting into position as well. I'm getting some charges off here. I did not charge the miners, which was a mistake. Oh, those blasting charges. So now we got some Dwarf on Dwarf action. We got Vampires coming into the flanks. The Knights are now coming out of the forest to do some damage. They get bogged down by the zombies, which is not what they wanted. Wasting their charge bonus on zombies is exactly what the Vampire player wants. And so now the Cryptors get in there. The Terror guy's going to get in there and do some damage. Meanwhile, the infantry is going to be flanking my opponents over here. My Dwarves are holding the line. We have buffs going down. Thorgrim in the middle there, fighting off against a Dwarf Lord. Cannons in the back firing at me. My cannons are firing at them. Man-at-Arms, a Spearman in here, but I'm not really super worried about them. And I'm holding a lot of my forces in reserve to just kind of layer in charges. I move my cannons up now that the Knights are out and about because I don't want them to just get hit with the rear, and I move my miners to take charges. Corridor is still putting down suppressive fire. You see some buff, the Rune of Negation is so good. Again, I can't stress how much the Runesmith is crucial to like almost any Dwarven army. And in this case, it even helps the, well, they shattered, but it would help them sooner. But yeah, 44% damage resistance in a wide area around the Runesmith. Runesmith is just so good. I love him to death. Here comes a group of mounted yeomen to try and get into my Correlers. And again, I don't really have any respect for mounted yeomen. These mounted yeomen are going to get kind of pushed back by a group of miners. These mounted yeomen get a charge on the side of my quarrelers. Nice charge, by the way. But if you look, my quarrelers are going to actually win this fight. Although, to be fair, I did shoot him in the back with some gyrocopters. So I guess that's true, too. But yeah, I had no respect for mounted yeomen. No respect. Over here, you can see the Cryptors now getting into the enemy's quarrelers. We also have the Vampire back here taking out their organ guns, which is a very good move. To take out the Dwarven artillery. They have fast movers like the Vargheists coming in to help as well. Meanwhile, my Dwarves are continuing to hold the front line here. My leader was being chased by the Dwarven Lord, who's done a lot of damage to him, so I was trying to get the leader bogged down by a group of Dwarven warriors, or Longbeards here. We got Manfred almost back up to full health now that they've been able to regenerate. And without the leadership of King Lewin and the Paladin, like these... There's nothing really to help these man-at-arms and spearmen. It was a really... Well, we'll talk about that later. But you see the man-at-arms and spearmen are now running for their lives. There's a lot of fear and terror over here. That Terrorgeist is really good. I'm still getting chased by the Dwarven Lord, so I decided to take this fight, and I buff Thorgun up with Stand Your Crown. Get some more reinforcements to help me out there. And there's only some pockets of resistance right now. Their artillery is still being cleaned up by the Cryptors, the Vampire, and the Vargheists. And we do also have some Grell Knights over here. But these Grell Knights were hit with Rune of Wrath and Ruin. That's right, I dropped that on them with my Runesmith. And the cannons are now positioned and peppering them as they retreat. Also, those gyrocopters are shooting at them as well. And they are anti-large gyrocopters. And so you can see they only really have their heroes left. And most of their infantry is now gone at this point. Their artillery is gone. And it is going to be a loss for our opponents here. Ah! I like that Dwarven little ha! But anyway, the fight over here really cost the Bretonnian player a lot. Going head-to-head against a Terrorgeist, Manfred, a Vampire, and Vargheist, when you only have King Lewin, a Paladin, and Pegasus Knights, you have to expect the Fate of Una, you have to expect Spirit Leech, and there's no way you're going to lose that fight. Hell, King still almost killed Manfred, because the King is a beast. The King is amazing. You always bring the King. Always. He is amazing. But taking that fight denied the crucial buff that the King can provide and that the Paladin can provide in the infantry fight over here, so they left their men-at-arms and spearmen to fight for themselves without any leadership. They have low leadership, so they need to be buffed. Luckily, the Dwarf Lords were around to help them with that. But yeah, losing all of that money so early on, they should have withdrawn from the fight, got closer to the Dwarven line that had Quarrelers that could have fended off the Vampire or the Vargheist. So that was a big part of the battle right there that they lost. So don't take that fight. Never take that fight. Vampires excel at murdering your heroes, at murdering elite units. Don't do it. Stay away from them if you can. Try to bring them down with range fire if you can. I don't know. It's hard to deal with. Vampires and their sniping abilities are stupid. They're dumb. It's really dumb. It's really, really dumb. But anyway, let's take a look at the casualties here. Poor King. Poor Paladin. They just were put up in a fight that they couldn't win. The Pegasus Knights not even getting any kills at all against the Vargheists. Oh, man. Fate of Una, Spirit Leech. Insanely strong. Another thing that kind of killed these players is that they actually took the damage from my cannons for a long time before finally realizing that they needed to charge my position. We had the elevated position. I was getting so many kills against Longbeards. That's a lot of kills for these cannons. They're only 800 in cost. That's really... And most of these are against Longbeards. So totally justified in the cost of bringing them. My Quarrelers didn't do too much. I was honestly better off bringing Thunderers in this fight since we were fighting against the Dwarves. Now, I was hoping that Thulgrim, with his buff that gives 8 attack to everybody around him and immune to psychology and all that, I was hoping that the 8 attack buff would maybe bring our Dwarven Warriors to a point where they could get a lot more kills. That was kind of the whole point of bringing even 4 Dwarven Warriors instead of just spamming like Longbeards, but not really. The 8+ attack doesn't really do too much. Longbeards did okay. Mining Blast Charges, they do some hit point damage. They didn't get many kills, but they also look so cool. Listen, there's a cool factor to them. And they have it. They have it. Let's see. The enemy Dwarven player, the cannon did manage to get 85 kills when it was finally in range and not blocked by friendly units, so that's pretty good. The organ guns got shut down pretty quickly before they could really do much. They are a shorter range artillery. Longbeards, that group did pretty well, but the others not super good. Miners did decently okay. Runesmith did alright as well. Vampire account player, Manfred von Karstein, pulling in 46 kills. Hell, even the zombies got some kills. Graveguard mostly did all pretty well. Cryptors did okay, but they were sent against a smaller units, like the Quarrelers in the back and the Orchid Guns, so they did really well. Vargeist did really well. Terrorgeist did okay. But, you know, it does have AoE Fear and Terror, which, you know, collapsed the infantry line, so that did its job. Overall, we did really good, and man, I'm really curious how the fight would have gone if their Air Force did not get destroyed early on. It could have been something. But let's take a quick look at Thulgrim. Oops, that's replays. So I don't really think Thulgrim is worth 1,850. I'm just putting that out there. The only time I think Thulgrim is going to be worth it is if you're fighting against Vampire Counts players, because anybody around him is going to totally negate the fear and terror that every single Vampire Count unit has. So that's going to be something that you don't have to worry about. And you do also get the bonus of melee attack. And he has, like, again, the magical attack, which if you send him against the Karen race or Hex race, if the enemy even brings them, he could do really well against them because they have literally no defense against them. And if you can see, because they can still deflect blows with the melee defense that they have, but the wraiths, look at this. Their stats, not that great. 26 and 20. 20 melee defense for the Karen race. The Hex race have 18. So Thulgrim, with his whopping 50 melee attack, is going to destroy wraiths. So I think that's the only time you would ever want to bring Thulgrim is against Vampire Counts. Against anybody else, I honestly don't really see that. Maybe dwarves, or I'm sorry, not dwarves. Greenskins, maybe. But even still, probably not. Probably not. I think only against Vampire Counts players. Again, the Great Cannons, only 800 in cost. They are shorter range than the Empire Cannons, but they're still, I think, super good for their cost. 800 is really good to get anti-armor and anti-large. So I would always bring Great Cannons. If not Great Cannons, then bring the Gyrocopters against Empire players. Gyrocopters are a little bit of a more... what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you got to be careful against Empire players because the Empires may bring Karl Franz mounted and he's going to destroy gyrocopter bombers. Bringing gyrocopters against even the Bretonnia player may have been a mistake because of Pegasus Knights and the King air superiority that they have. So I think generally the cannons are a safer bet to bring against Empire players and Bretonnia because you're going to be fighting against Demigryph Knights. You're going to be fighting some kind of cav. So against those two players, I think always bring cannons. If you want to be riskier, bring gyrocopters. But yeah, super solid units. Organ gun, range 275, so the enemy player had to move quite a bit to get in range. So again, I think Great Cannons are just... People say, you know, organ guns are really good. I've never seen them really work. Because they always get sniped, they always get outranged by any other artillery, and I don't know. I'll try to use them some more, maybe I'll love them, maybe not, I don't know. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the battle, everybody. Again, Thulgrim... against I need to try him against a vampire player and see how well he does. But he still looks cool. He's on a chariot that's held up by dwarf warriors. He just has his big book. He looks cool. It's kind of like the miners with the blasting charges. They just look cool. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.